Hi guys, I'm Tracy and welcome to today's video. So I am going to be going over the brushes that I use for bronzer. Now I keep seeing my bronzer brush video and I was kind of looking at it and I realized that it's been over a year since I posted that, which is pretty unbelievable that it's been that long, but it is one of my more popular brush videos. But I did notice a lot of those brushes that I mentioned in that video I'm no longer using. So I wanted to do an updated version of the brushes that I use currently for bronzer, but I'm going to just focus on the ones that I have been using more recently that I highly recommend. Let's start out with the smaller brushes that I use for bronzer, and that would be so I'll talk about both of these at once. This is the Bisyodo B-C1 and the Hakuhodo B512. So they're shaped very similarly. It's just one is dyed and one is not. And I would say they're pretty similar in density, and I think they perform pretty much the same way. I use both of these in a patting motion, and I really like this size brush. It's kind of a medium-sized brush. And I use it to, pretty much create definition here. It's just a very basic all-around bronzer brush. So I like both of these. And I'm going to talk about the Chikuhodo ones really quick. I personally like the Z8 more than the Z1, although you can use both of these for bronzer. But I would say the Z8 is more practical. The Z1 is a bit big even for me. And this is good for those of you who have very fair skin, are trying to just lightly build pigment, or for those of you who like to little by little add on your bronzer. It's going to be hard to get a strong look with a brush like this. But if you have a very pigmented bronzer that you're just trying to lightly apply, this is a really good one. This is only going to work for more powdery formulas, like a baked gelée formula. This is going to be very hard to pick up with. So that's the Z8, and I like this for blush as well. And another one that I do use, not so much recently, but for a while I did use the Sonia G Soft Cheek for bronzer. Again, this is more for someone that wants a very subtle bronzer look because the hairs are long and it's not very sparse, so it's a floppy brush. So I use mine like this, and I use it just to do like a lighter dusting. You could build up with this brush, but it would take a little bit of time. But I would say this is a very good beginner brush if you're just starting out with bronzer, because you're not going to put too much on. And as long as you kind of have this technique down where you're lightly dusting, I think this is very foolproof, and it's also a really great bronzer brush. So I mean blush brush. So I do talk about this brush a lot, and I highly recommend this one still. And then one that I have not used for a while, but I remember using this a lot, that's the Rephr 24. I believe this is called their bronzer brush. And it's been a bit since I've used this, and I don't remember if I used it for powder or cream, because I feel like this is pretty dense. You can use it for cream products, but I'm going to try it with this Hourglass bronzer. I really like this bronzer, but it's just a little light for me. So I'm going to see if this, because of the density and the length of the hairs, maybe this will pick up enough to really get this to show up. So yeah, that really did pick up that bronzer. See how much pigment went on there? So I would say if you have like a tan to deep complexion and you want to get like a pretty decent amount on at once, this is a good one. If you're very fair and you're just trying to lightly bronze your skin, I don't think this would be a good one for you, because it's a pretty dense brush. But it hasn't like picked up my base makeup or anything, because it's very soft. So that's how I use this one, and I'm glad I pulled it out because I really forgot how much I like this brush. So that's the Rephr 24. Now I'm going to talk about a couple Bisyodo brushes that I've been using. These are my larger of the Bisyodo face brushes, and one that I've been using a lot for bronzer is the B-P-2. So this is the mid-size face brushes that they make, and this one is a paddle shape, and it's not very dense, so it's really good. I have a demo somewhere. If I can find it, I'll link that demo down below. But I use this one like this. I turn it like this way to do this part, and then I use it like this to kind of create definition on the sides of my face and over here. So this is going to be a very quick way to apply your bronzer. It's not going to apply a lot, but it's not going to be super light either. So it's just kind of right in the middle. If for those of you who don't like using large brushes, you might not like this one because it's a pretty big brush. So it covers a pretty big amount at once, but I think also good for beginners as well. So that's the Bisyodo B-P-2. Also, I've been really liking the Bisyodo B-P-01. I haven't had this too long, so I haven't had a lot of experience using it. But I've been trying to use this shape more often, and I've been really liking it. So I'll use the same Hourglass bronzer for this brush. And this is kind of how I use a brush like this. I go along here, and then I use it like this. I already have bronzer on, so it's not applying it for the first time. I just want to show you the technique I use for this type of brush. And I have a few other brushes that are this size and shape. Two bronzer brushes from Hakuhodo that I really like, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, the B512. This is a goat and squirrel hair mix. I use this as my bronzer brush for a long time, and it's really good at like providing like a medium application of bronzer like this. And I have demos of using this one compared to the G5544. So the 5544 is just a slightly bigger version. This one is also less dense than this one, and I ordered another one like this that's a little denser, but I've actually been favoring the G5544 over that one because it's so flexible. I feel like I could, like, you know, just go to town with bronzer. It doesn't come out too much. It's so so airy. It doesn't mess up your base makeup. I don't feel like it takes anything off, and it just really gives your bronzer a very natural look. So I would say this is right now like top 2 or 3 bronzer brushes. So I'm actually going to go over all of the bronzer brushes that I have that I didn't talk about in that previous video. Some of them might be repeats, but I'm pretty sure most of these are pretty new. So these brushes that I'm going to talk about aren't necessarily ones that I highly recommend, just because I personally haven't really been able to master these brushes for bronzer. Well, except for one, but let me start off with the Hakuhodo ones. And so one is just a smaller version of the other. The smaller one is the G5545 from Hakuhodo, and then the B505. So the B505 is a denser version of this one, and I haven't had this one very long, but I do know people that like this for bronzer. So let me just and I kind of put a little foundation off to get a little foundation on so I can get what I had on off. So I'm gonna just like lightly dip that, and normally how I use this, I pat like this. And I can't imagine these being not good for bronzer. They're just, I'm really into these mixed hair brushes. They're just like the perfect medium. You know, it's not too soft, not too much pickup, but enough to, you know, make a difference. And every time I use these two, I'm just so pleased with the finish. It doesn't take a lot of blending. It's almost like the blending's been done for you when you use this. And the same for blush. So that's how I use these. And with this one, it's so airy, you can buff and it won't mess anything you have up. Oops. Put that one on that side, this one. So you really can't go wrong with either one of these if you're looking to order some Hakuhodo. And then these four, okay, I'll talk about the two Sonia G brushes that I know are used for bronzer. I personally haven't really been able to get the hang of these, and I think it's just because I haven't put the effort in, and also they're a little dense for my liking. One is the Inochige Pro, and this actually looks a lot like the Bisyodo B-P-1, slightly smaller, but I'm just not sure. I've just never really used this a whole lot. I've had it for a little while, and I know a lot of people love this for bronzer, and I just don't know why I haven't really taken to this brush. Another one that a lot of people rave about is the Niji Pro, and I've had this for a little bit, not too long. I've tried it with bronzer a few times, and I just haven't got it to work well for me. It's always come out a little patchy. I've tried to do it like this, and I just don't think this shape brush, this like a brush this wide, is a shape that I'm like good at using. The only thing I've really successfully used with this brush is finishing powder, and that's such a shame because, you know, I'm sure this brush is capable of so much more, but I just wanted to mention it and give you guys my opinion. This one is usually in storage, which I'm really sad about, but I personally haven't been able to get this one to work. And another one that I have used for bronzer, but I tend to use, I guess, for blush as well, is the Bisyodo B-P-2. I'm pretty sure I always get this one wrong, but it's their smaller angled brush, and I use this just like how I use the you know, the B512. They're almost identical in size and shape, and density pretty much identical. I just tend to favor this Bisyodo, this Hakuhodo for some reason, but this one works just as well. I think this one even is a little bit softer. It's dyed goat hair, so I use it like this, the same how I use my other angled brushes, and it always comes out really beautiful. And then the last one I'm going to talk about, and then this one is pretty new. It's technically a powder brush, but I'm going to end up probably using it for blush and bronzer, and that's the Houkodou G-F2. If it's wrong, I'll list it down below. But I'm really enjoying this brush, mainly because it's pretty unique. I don't have anything like this. So this is made out of pure gray squirrel hair, and what makes it so unique is that it's round and the hairs are pretty long. So this is like borderline long floppy brush, and it has such a light touch. I think any kind of powder product will work with this, and I've used it for bronzer and it works out beautifully. It's gonna be you know, somewhat like the Chikuhodo Z8 in that it's gonna very lightly apply your powder products, and so it might take a little bit of time to build up the pigment, but this one is longer than the Z8, and so even a lighter touch. Density, less dense here. The Z8 is slightly more dense, so I think you're going to have an even lighter application with this Houkodou right here. But I'm really enjoying this one. This was in my last order, so I haven't talked about this yet. I don't think I've showed this on my channel yet, but I'm really enjoying this one, and this is how I would use it. But I have a feeling this is going to be a really great bronzer brush for those of you who like a very light, airy application. You don't have to worry about anything lifting when you use this, and it's so soft. I've not washed this yet, but it's this really impressive brush, and for the price you're getting, I really think now with the exchange rate, this is such a bargain. And I feel like the Houkodou, this gold series, might not be around for long. I kind of feel like some of their styles aren't being restocked, so I did get this one and another one. But anyhow, I do think this would be great for bronzer. I just haven't had it long enough. Okay, so that's gonna do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and look out for the video about my cream bronzer brushes. I don't have a lot of them, but I do have some really great options. So if it's not up, if it's up, I'll link it down below, and if not, it'll be up in the next few days. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.